You're watching Experience Comic Culture and Sales, streaming live daily to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter.
What's up, the internet? I'm Jay today because I don't remember reading the books before any of the books we have to talk about, except for like one. It's a real problematic thing when you have to talk about books that you're supposed to be knowing about, and well, you're like, I don't remember reading this one before. Really does make it awkward. Also, Dan's not here again, so there's that. And Sean's not here because, well, we didn't ask him. So it's just Jay and I and some books that so we'll see how that goes. But stick around. This is In Stores This Week, where we talk about books that are in stores this week, and we will do that in just a couple seconds. What's up, the internet? It's Kyle.
What's up, everybody?
That's Jay. It's a real problem this week, buddy. I'm like, we had one book, then I'm like, have we read the previous 5 issues?
I don't think so.
Because I don't remember any of it. So, super fun. I'm sure Dan would be like, yeah, we read them. They came out these weeks. But I don't know. So this is In Stores This Week, where we talk about books that are new in stores this week, and where we remind you to visit your local comic shop every week and take some stuff home. If you don't know where your local comic shop is, go to comicshoplocator.com. Type in the zip code as to where you are, and it will tell you where there are comic shops nearby to you. I'm planning a trip to a certain city in Texas in July, and I'm going to have to use Comic Shop Locator to find stores in that area to make Jay drive me to. So that will be a thing. But, that's what you use Comic Shop Locator for, so make sure you do that.
Yeah.
I think Jay just found out that I'm going to be sharing a bed with his dog later. So, because in order for that trip to be cost effective, Han and I are going to have to bunk up.
Oh, yeah. He'll be good with that.
All right. Because we're going to have to use the other couches and other spaces in your house for other people. No. So, Jay just found out we're coming for Comic Palooza without anybody telling him. So,
hey, it's all good.
No, I don't know that for sure it's going to happen, but, it's a fun thing to think about. Let's get started with a book that we didn't read the first 5 issues of. Or maybe we did. Angel number 6.
Okay, I vaguely remember reading.
Maybe like number 1?
I don't even remember now. This was such a forgettable book, to be honest with you.
Correct.
Like I have read Buffy and Angel books before, but the ones that like Jenna has kind of follow after the TV shows. And, I know that a lot of people, they don't like to just follow the shows. They want to do something new. They want to do something different. But sometimes, man, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Because this is another multiversal thing where like Angel's an actor, but then we have an evil Angelus from another dimension, and there's also an evil Spike. And for me personally, for a lot of these books, multiverse stuff is starting to become the new zombie. We have so much multiverse.
Yeah, in the words of the people on TikTok, this book be doing too much. And as a result, it doesn't work out well. It was a storyline that I wasn't interested in. And maybe that's because I hadn't read the previous 5 issues or 4 issues or whatever. maybe I read issue 1 back when it came out, because I remember maybe talking to Jenna about she wanted to interview Christopher Cantwell, and this had just dropped. Maybe I
remember them. Was it Buffy or was it them that fought the weird raising the Horde? So yeah, I can't even tell them apart.
Couldn't tell you. Right, and so that's kind of the problem here. If you're reading this book, tell me if it's great or not. I'm willing to believe you. I also, again, am usually, or have in the past, been a big fan of the continuing of the saga of these characters after the series after their respective series have ended. But this one seems like a little bit ill-advised. So, all right, Star Trek. Now, remember, in my world, it's Wars Galactica Trek.
Got you.
I don't know who any of these people are.
I kind of do. These are characters from Deep Space Nine. I watched a little bit of Deep Space Nine. I wasn't like I'm a Star Trek fan, but I haven't watched every single thing that is Star Trek. This was an interesting story. Cisco not having the goatee threw me off because he usually does, but it kind of got me thinking maybe that was a little nod to evil Spock.
Well, it is the mirror world, right? So if he has a goatee in the regular world, he wouldn't in the other one.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, maybe it's like a little nod to that. Also, it's strange to me that they changed the spelling of his name, because I could have sworn that his name Cisco was with a Q. But later on, after you read the book, you find out what the next book's going to be, and they spell that name differently as well. So I'm guessing they just, I don't know why, just to differentiate it more.
Maybe it's got to do with the mirror universe.
I mean, maybe, but I don't know.
Maybe they're illiterate in the mirror universe.
Maybe. But there's a lot of cameos from people in this. It was interesting, and I actually want to read the next one.
Right. It was certainly a good story.
Yeah.
But I don't care about any of these characters, right? So it's like, why do I care?
You would have to have a little bit of knowledge of Deep Space Nine to care.
Right. You have to give me a reason to care about what's happening to these characters, about why Cisco's making the choices he's making. And they kind of tried to do that, but they didn't really do a great job of it. Yeah. And then conversely, there was so much put on his relationship with the woman.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't think of her name right now.
It's like Nares or something like that. It begins with an N.
The inter something or other.
Yeah.
Interpolator. I forget. Anyway, this is what I'm saying. It's painful. Good story though. But this is for your Star Trek fans.
Yes.
Not necessarily for your everyday everybody.
Yeah. So.
All right. Moving on, and we're just gonna. We don't have that many books this week, so we can slow down and talk about the ones we like. But we're just gonna get through them. Because it was kind of a weirdly light week. There were a couple of books I went to Dan after and asked for. Said, hey, did you get these? Because we'd read the first several. Did we get this one? And one of them, I think we skipped number 2.
Yeah.
Was Guilt. Now, I picked number 2 up at the local comic shop. I don't know if you did.
No.
So what's happening in Guilt, to catch everyone up, is that this guy on the cover in the hat is kind of like the Doctor from Doctor Who, or Dick Tracy, the time traveler, or Rip Hunter, or any of these guys who's kind of like a time cop from that movie Time Cop. His job is to go through and find the two women who have gone through the time portal in issue 1 and put the universe back right because the universe is unraveling. And Jay, did you get a chance to read this? Because I know we added it up later.
I did read this. Okay, it's a crazy story, but I expect that from Ahoy Comics. I expect they're good stories. You do jump back and forth in time a lot in this one. And me not reading the second issue, I do feel like I missed a big chunk.
Mainly just his introduction.
Oh, okay. Because I was thinking to myself, what's the deal with these guys in different times that like glamour people, and they have these what are they hourglass things show up in their eyes, and what's the deal with the time? There's time rifts. One takes a plane from 1973 to 2017, and then back again. But then when a bird goes through, it goes to 1929. Like, is there no fixed point in these time rifts? It's just land wherever. I thought that was kind of interesting.
Sean, I didn't because I forgot to ask you if you wanted to be on the show.
Well, he's working anyway.
I'd give him a hard time if he had asked, and he's like, "Nah, I got to work." But I forgot to ask.
Yeah.
Not your fault this week, bud. No, so read this book slowly. Read the first two. The second one, again, is kind of the introduction to they have a name for them. They're like the tenants association of like the apartment complex for time travelers. They're like they're the people.
Like that group in Loki.
No, like the name of the group is like the Tenants Association, and the joke is that it's like the way they get everyone together is to summon them to a Tenants Association meeting. Okay. So it'd be like if you're living in an apartment complex and everybody has to get together to vote on, like, that's kind of the gimmick. And these guys are the cops, and they glamour people, and they forget that they've dealt with something out of their time, and it kind of resets time. Sort of like the people from Loki, more like the Doctor from Doctor Who.
Gotcha.
So there's that. This book is very interesting, and it's a good read.
Yeah.
But yeah, having some knowledge on the first two issues certainly helps. I did
like the little Ahoy comic, the little meta Ahoy comic in the actual bedroom. I thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah, it's true. One of the other books I asked for and we didn't get was We Ride Titans #4. We've been reading We Ride Titans as well. We read the first 3 issues. We didn't get #4, so that's one I'll have to pick up in stores. And maybe we'll get a #5 and we'll catch back up with you guys. That's going to be a thing. The deeper we get into series, with a couple of exceptions from certain companies, like we're always going to get all the Dynamite books.
Right.
Because we have connections to Dynamite. Dan runs Dynamite books. Nick is super helpful. All his staff is super helpful. So we can get as deep into those series as we want. From other companies, we have to take what they give us. So we either have to go and ask them for stuff or just kind of go with it. And so when we miss out on books, my goal will always be, if it's something I was interested in, to continue picking it up, so that if we do get another copy, we can, we have a bridge, as it were.
Yeah.
All right. Next up is a book that, again, I don't remember reading #1, but I'm kind of pissed about not remembering #1.
You weren't here. You weren't here.
This was real good.
Yes. We actually have this in our pool.
So Jay, catch everybody up on what happened in #1, and then.
Okay, so #1 is.
I can hear you flipping your notes.
Yeah, I know.
which is great because like I'm doing this off the top of the dome, and I love that you're like, okay, this is what happened.
Yeah, my
I just
memory
love
is
that.
not great. It's not great. Issue number 1, you get to meet basically these Reapers, and one of the Reapers, her name is Jessica. She just got done reaping a soul, carrying him across the river Styx and all that. Well, this dude steals her scythe to go back because he's like, he still doesn't believe he's dead. So he goes back. Well, she goes back after him with the help of some other Reapers, and I can't remember their name. One is Eddie, and I think the other one is named like Marcel. But the big twist with the end of this is they're not supposed to be able to be seen by people, and Jessica gets caught when she tries to get her scythe back. Now, this issue doesn't really show the aftermath of that. It shows that they're on their way back. She got her scythe back and everything, but she's in trouble for having her scythe stolen. And the guy that she was ferrying, he's like, well, I know how I died. And a big mystery with her is she doesn't know how she died. The other 2 Reapers that are with her, they both know. So she asks about it, and the lady in charge, and I don't remember her name, she says, well, don't worry about that right now. I have to actually go to death to get that record. So so she's thinking of a way to get in here, or get into the record vault, and she stops in Eddie's room. And the cool thing about Reapers is they get their own space. So Eddie's space is a vinyl record shop. He is a hair metal looking guy, like straight out the 80s hair metal guy. And I really like Eddie. Like outside of Jess being just a badass character, Eddie's a funny character. I really like him. But he's going to help her try to get in. Her and I want to say the guy's name is Marcel, and I'm probably getting that wrong. But they're going to get into this vault. Well, there is a guard named Annabelle that's there. And Eddie decides he's going to serenade her with Inspiration by Chicago on acoustic. She's not into it. Yeah. She's not into it, and they walk away. Well, Marcel and Jess get into the vault, and Marcel is standing near these pipes. It's like a tube system, like a bank, and it shoots this tube out at him. He grabs it. Well, that's his memory of his death. So Jess decides she's going to do the same thing. We don't really see, though, what happens because she gets it. They start showing us a glimpse of what's happening, but then they're interrupted and caught. And that's basically where the book ends. Man, if y'all aren't reading this book, please start picking this up. If these issues keep going the way they're going, this is going to be the next Something Is Killing the Children as far as popularity wise.
Yeah. So I know Miss Jen sold out of issue number 1, but may have a hookup on getting some first prints. So like I'm excited to get one because I didn't get a number 1 and I didn't read it for you guys. Reading it, jumping in on number 2, this book is bat crap crazy. But it was super interesting, and it's Stephanie Phillips, who I quite like. So for me, it definitely warrants further reading, even if I didn't really understand it. And I like the idea of the Grim Reaper being, more personable, more personified, less just dude in hood with sickle.
Yes.
And more like, okay, a hair metal guy or a punk rocker or whatever they are. Like, every one of them has their own personality. And that's interesting to me. So
the opening of this issue, I was just like, wow, that was just the opening. But yeah, this book is so good. So good. Now with Dan, Dan got Dan had me for a second because after I talked about it, he was like, "Well," and I was like, "Oh man, Dan didn't like it," which is okay, but he was like, there was a part near the end where it hooked me, and I was like, "Great! Now all we need is Kyle to like it, and all three of us like something at the same time." For now.
So you're telling me I have to not like it?
No.
It'd be hard to convince me to not like it. So this is another one that I think the first two issues hit on weeks when I was gone. Manor Black,
Oh.
Fire in the Blood, number 3. No?
I don't remember reading either one of these.
Maybe we're jumping in on number 3.
Yeah, because
I don't remember 1 or 2.
Yeah, I don't have a lot to say about this one.
It's a story of a family. Okay, I'm going to relate it to something that is certainly something no one else has read. Boom Studios had a book out in, like, say, 2013, 2014 called Daymen. And for the premise of this book was that all the vampire families in the world operated much like crime syndicate families, and that they hired daymen to go between them and conduct business during the day. But this book became about consolidation of power. And it was, oh, well, my daymen can take out their, leader, and then we can get their blood supply. And, the consolidation of power. And this book, to me, feels a little bit like that, in the sense of it's about how power passed on through mystical forces is passed on and consolidated and controlled and regimented. And we're jumping in issue 3, but we find that there's a family of magicians.
Yes.
Who their power is passed on through their blood. And when one member of the family dies, their blood is added to a giant
hourglass.
Hourglass?
Was it hourglass? Yeah.
Yeah, it's an hourglass. And as the blood diminishes or drips down, more have to be added as members of the family pass away. And one member of the family is refusing to pass away. And there's this story that happens there. But then this girl comes into the picture who is not from that same family, who is a fire mage of some kind. And there's some sort of relation there that we don't understand because we don't have the backstory. It's Cullen Bunn and Brian Hurt. The art is incredible. It's all watercolor.
Yeah.
And Cullen Bunn wrote the heck out of it. But I got to say, without knowing the entire premise of issues 1 and 2, understanding what's happening in issue 3 is rather difficult.
Yeah. Yeah. It does seem like a cool story, though.
Anything with a hedge maze, I'm in for. Because usually, there's a minotaur in there somewhere.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. Let me do this one. Jennifer Blood, number 9. Issue 10 is the last issue of Jennifer Blood. And issue 9 certainly sets it up for that.
Yeah.
This issue primarily follows Eagle, who is her co-conspirator. The last few issues, and it kind of just sort of lays the foundation for the big final showdown, right?
Yeah.
We know there's going to be a big final showdown because the book is Jennifer Blood. Like,
I figured that out. If it does
have a big final showdown, they've done something wrong.
Yeah.
So this book is setting that up in a big way.
Yeah, I mean, still really solid story to me. There's some surprises, like what happens with Eagle.
Mm-hmm.
Good. I did get a kick out of there's a part where there's a couple of guys in a hotel suite.
Yeah.
One of the guys is telling Eagle, "Oh, I've been training. I'm still training my knife fighting skills, even if I'm old, and I'm going to take you out." And just
he impales himself on a unicorn.
Yeah, like he just got X-forced is what happened.
Yeah,
just murked himself. Jennifer's entrance at the end of this is really cool, but it almost kind of was like we're going to talk about where she can't be a little too much. So it was kind of, I was like on the verge of thinking, well, maybe that is where she is since they're talking about it so much.
Mm-hmm.
But still, I mean.
Well, it felt like a stall tactic, right? Like you can't know where she's going to be. You can only know where she was and predict where she might be. And these are her patterns. And here's the part where I lay the plan out for you with a slice of bread, and spread it real thin for you so you can see everything because it's already too late to do anything about it. Yeah. This is the part of the Ocean's 11 movie where they show it all in motion.
Yeah.
And so them talking about it was like, okay, I understand what they're doing. This is him stalling. Because the sooner he says, oh, clearly you know where she is, the sooner that Platinum and the General are on the move to slow her down or try and stop her. And if he can stall just a little bit longer, that makes her chances of success that much higher.
Yeah. I also got a chuckle out of Whiteman's little random facts. He just goes on that weird tangent of things, talking to the guys in the car.
Yeah, it feels like talking to Sean. Okay. Also, my friends will tell you it feels like talking to me. So I can make that joke.
Same.
All right. So this is another one I don't remember reading, number one. But holy crap, did I like this book.
I was fixing to say, I think you were going for that one too.
Cold Iron number 1 by Andy Diggle.
Yeah.
Or Cold Iron number 2. This is a fairy story.
Mm-hmm.
It's English mythology, and I love it. The only person I would have rather written this story than Andy Diggle, Neil Gaiman. And that's only because I don't think anyone tells traditional folklore mythology stories as well as Neil Gaiman.
I can see that.
So,
yeah, I really, really enjoyed the first one, and I'm still liking this so far. The story's interesting. I enjoy hearing the lore. But kind of like with the first issue, and this isn't like, it's my nitpicky brain, but it just feels like once something almost starts going, that's where the book is ending. And I know that that's a hook to get you to want to read the next issue, but I'm like, I kind of already did that in the first issue. Like, you leave off on this thing is chasing them. You start out this book, it's the next morning, and the thing is gone. Like, it's still really good, but it's kind of like, I hope the next issue is like, okay, this happened near the end. Let's start the issue with what happened at the end, and then continue the story. But
although where they left this one, it would make sense to pick it up in the morning. Like, it would make sense that it's the next day. And I think so much of this story is stuff like that, where it can only happen at night in that evening time when the veil is thin between our world and that world in mythology. That this stuff can happen. So I think the timing of the books is really important. So it's, this time is over. Let's go have dinner. Let's recover. Let's move on. And we'll pick it up in the morning. That's just my guess, not having read issue number 1. But what I will say is that not having read issue number 1 did not put me behind for issue number 2, necessarily. I was able to relatively quickly discern who all the people are and what their roles might be relatively quickly, which is a good thing when you're writing a series because it means people can jump in on any issue.
Yep.
I like the idea that Grandma is the old mystic.
Yeah.
And is going to be like the key to all of this. I love that that's kind of the juxtaposition. And conversely, I like that everything is set against this kind of very real, what would happen in this situation in today's day and age kind of foreground. Right?
Yeah.
It's, oh, here's your social worker. Here's your person greasing those wheels. Here's this, here's that. Okay, well, that feels very realistic to today's times. So, despite it being a fairy story, it still had some relatable content.
Yeah.
So, all right, we have 2 books left. They're both number 3s. Do you want to do Sentient Chainmail Shirt or Talking Cats?
Let's go ahead and do the chainmail shirt.
Immortal Red Sonja, number 3. Now, I was prepared to say this until I read the book. Missed issue 2, by the way, wasn't you? Dynamite is doing with Red Sonja and Vampirella what Marvel did with X-Men and what DC is doing with Batman and ruining these characters.
Is it because too many books, too many titles?
Too many books with the same main character. Even though they're different stories and they take place in different times and different parts of the world and different universes and different realms, it's too hard to keep them all separate. Now, I will be very forgiving in that this may be a result of backed up printing. This may be a result of, shutdown from the pandemic. These things need to get out. And so we're launching stuff a little quicker than maybe we normally would. I can be very forgiving of it, but they need to slow down because the problem is if you're reading every Red Sonja title, you can't keep them all straight. Except for this one. Because this is the only one with a shirt.
Yeah.
And this book was fantastic. They had Magogs.
And
any book with Magogs is a good time.
I liked it. I find myself that I actually like Invincible Red Sonja a little more.
Okay. My read on this one is that the fact that you have somebody to play off of that isn't on screen, what's up, Kenneth? Somebody that isn't on screen in the sense that the shirt is talking to her and it's telling her stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not taking up panel space. It's not taking up screen time. It's not slowing you down from any of the action because it doesn't need to.
Yeah.
It is great. It talks way too much.
And too late.
And they actually allude to it in the story. The shirt talks too much. So giving Sonja somebody to play off of is great. I think maybe they're doing it a little too much in that regard. I also think the whole Arthurian quest thing about it is super fun. The search for Merlin, and that we don't know where he is, so it leaves it pretty open-ended to trying to find him. is a pretty solid way to tell a story. So,
like, I'll start off this. I have one, and it's just a silly nitpick. I am not a letterer or artistic in any kind of way when it comes to art. But while it looks cool, the name of the story in this issue took me a bit to read what it said. I think it said the Magician's Tower, but the lettering was it was super hard to read. And I think I had that same problem with the issue before. Like I said, it's just a little nitpick. It's just I could tell after a while what it said, but it was just kind of hard to read. Cool lettering and everything, but kind of scrunched together. That doesn't.
See, I don't ever read the titles of these issues. Like, maybe I should.
I'm friends with Dave Lentz, who's a letterer for a lot of Garrett books. So I kind of notice these things more now. But, that doesn't take away from the book. The book was really good. I myself have got to just get over the vernacular that gets used in this and Red Sitha and just enjoy the story. And I think that's why I like Invincible Red Sonja a little more. But, taking myself out of that thinking, I enjoyed the story. I think, same as you, that the Arthurian quest looking for Merlin is going to make for a great story. I do feel that the chainmail was a little Deadpool talking to his other personalities a little too much at points. That being said, like I said, it was funny because it would tell her things, but it'd be like a second too late or right after it happened. And, it's a smart ass chainmail shirt. I mean, that's cursed. Her sword's cursed. It's a fun story. Like the more we read of this one, the more I like it.
Absolutely. All right. Last book.
This one.
Immortal Red Sonja was my favorite book of the week.
Oh, okay.
This was number 2 for me. And it's the same reason that this book has been on the top of my list every time it's come out. This is a tremendous way to look at a huge societal systemic problem without being on the nose about it.
Right.
And even this book got a little more on the nose about it, but not directly. When you're talking about the opioid crisis, and you're talking about these other things, there's such a drag to talk about. But they're so important because they're such a big deal in our culture right now that they can't be ignored. Well, the story of Alice is a bridge, right? It's a way to do that without a one-to-one correlation. Turning the story of Alice in Wonderland into a story of drugs and what happens when you're on them is a great way to sort of lessen that traditional blow you'd get from a drug story. Yeah. Which makes this book more palatable and easier to read. What bums me out about this book is it's starting to become clear where Alice's trauma is from and what caused that and why it doesn't abate. And that was kind of tough to read.
Yeah.
So, again, this is one of those books for you've got to be kind of right with the world to jump in on it. But if you feel like you can, and you can read it and kind of understand the lines Dan Panosian is trying to draw and the lines he's not trying to cross, and mix it with Victorian era steampunkish art, this is a really great book.
Absolutely. What's being told in this book to me is kind of perfect for the comic book medium. That being said, though, this story continues to be so good and sad and terrifying, and just all these feelings I get when I read this. I've seen people go through stuff like this. I never have personally had it happen to me, but you feel for the characters in the book. Like, you feel for Alice, you feel for, and I forget the guy that she's with in here, but you feel for them, and you see, man, like this book is, you really do have to be right with yourself and in your own mind before you start reading it, because it'll mess you up, and getting into the lighter side of it, because they're a little bit lighter side. This Cheshire Cat is the creepiest looking one I think I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And when he asked Alice, when was the last time you fit in anywhere? And if I didn't feel that deep in my bones, because everybody at some point in their life had felt like that.
Right. But and the fact that the Cheshire Cat is her drug dealer.
Yeah.
And you can see that the lines that other characters in Wonderland are going to play.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting.
This story is going to get so much worse before it gets better for her. I have that feeling about it. I think we got rough waters ahead reading this thing, but it's so good. It's so good.
Absolutely. All right. Well, guess what? That was our last book. It was a light week.
Yeah.
So, I will be back on Friday for the original art show. Jay will be back as Mr. Producer on Space Cadets. On Thursday night at 9:00 Eastern.
Yes.
I think. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you click the bell on YouTube when you subscribe. Click the bell so you get the notifications. And make sure you head over to comicshoplocator.com to find comic shops near you.
And subscribe. We need many more subscribers, because I need a 2-hour Dan Wickline show. I need a 2-hour art show, because Nick really needs that time to talk.
We really don't need a 2-hour art show. Well, we did that, but we'll talk about that later. He needs a budget so that I can stay in a hotel when I come to Texas, and that only comes with more subscribers. So, do those things. And we'll see you guys next time on In Stores this week.
Join the party. Head over to our Linktree to find all the links for everywhere the experience is all the time.